What is up, and welcome back to Beyond the Arc with Brandon Silvers. As always, I am your host, Brandon Silvers. We're talking Women's March Madness today, going to try to figure out who is going to win the national championship. But first, hope y'all had a great week. Glad to be talking to you again. All right, let's get into it. Okay, this has been an awesome year for women's hoops, from South Carolina's undefeated season heading into the tournament, to Caitlin Clark's scoring record chase, to LSU trying to defend its title, to all these incredible freshmen playing out of their minds. The perfect combination of great storylines and great basketball. And we still have this entire tournament left where we get even more great storylines and great basketball. Who should we be paying attention to? Who's going to win it all? There are more great teams than ever, but it's still a safe bet to assume the champion is going to be a top 3 seed. No team worse than a 3 seed has ever won the title, at least not in the NCAA era. In fact, no team worse than a 3 seed has made the Final Four since 2016. That year, 7th seeded Washington, led by WNBA All-Star Kelsey Plum, and 4th seeded Syracuse, led by one of the best defenders in the WNBA today, Brittany Sykes, made the Final Four, but Breanna Stewart and UConn won it all to cap off their perfect season. With that in mind, I'm going to focus on the teams with the best chances to win it all and sprinkle in some knowledge on some other contenders so you can sound smart and also know what games to pay attention to, since we can't watch them all, although I might try. Okay, Regional 4 in Portland, 1 seed Texas has flown under the radar as far as 1 seeds are concerned. Part of that is due to being in the Big 12. Another part of that is because I feel like we wrote them off after the Roy Harmon injury, but here they are. And the main reason they're here is freshman Madison Booker. The way Texas doesn't get the hype of the other top teams, Booker doesn't quite get the hype that others in her freshman class do. The job she's done this year is every bit as impressive, though. She's one of the most effective mid-range scorers in the country, putting up 17 points per game to go along with 5 rebounds and 5 assists. She scored in double figures in 23 straight games, really stepping up and coming into her own after Harmon went down. This is a team, much like Booker, that isn't necessarily flashy, but incredibly effective. They go out and execute on both ends of the floor. They're balanced. They have depth. They've had 9 players who have played in at least 21 games and averaged 10 minutes per game. 8 of those players average at least 5.5 points per game, 7 average at least 3.4 rebounds. They get production of some kind out of most of their roster. As much as I love individual greatness, this is the type of balance you see in teams that have the best chance to win it all. Shea Holley and Shaylee Gonzalez can shoot it. Taylor Jones does all the dirty work in the paint, and there isn't a ton of drop-off in production when they bring in subs. This is a high-floor team. They aren't going to beat themselves, but can they be beat? I think so. While they have a high floor, I don't think they have the highest ceiling in this region. If both teams are playing at their best, I think 2 seed Stanford can beat them, and that's why they're my pick to come out of this quadrant. Is there a better post combo in the country than Cameron Brink and Kiki Iriafen? Iriafen has been an absolute revelation this season, going from just under 7 points and 4 rebounds per game last year to nearly 19 points and 11 rebounds this year. She's had 6 20-point, 15-rebound games. Brink has had 8 of her own and continues to be one of the most imposing defenders in the nation, as she averages the most blocks per game in Division I at 3.5. They complement each other well on offense, as they can each step outside of the paint and create for themselves and each other a little bit in the mid-range. So how does a team with 2 players this talented end up as the 2 seed? Well, in 2 of their losses, Brink either missed most or all of the game with an illness, but looking at the other 3 losses, the picture becomes crystal clear: scoring and guard play. In those losses with Brink, they scored 59, 58, and 61 points, well below their average of 77.5. They start 3 guards alongside Brink and Iriafen and Hannah Jump, Talana Lapolo, and Elena Bozgana. Those 3 averaged a combined 13 points per game in those 3 games. 40 points between 3 players in 3 games. That's especially awful when you consider they also gave up 51 points to Juju Watkins in one of those games. Now, Lopolo and Bozgana aren't necessarily out there to put up a ton of points. Bozgana is out there to defend, and they plug in a lot of different players to fill those minutes as well. Lopolo plays a significant part of the game, but is more of a floor general type point guard. So this comes down to Hannah Jump. She's had a bit of a down year for her career. She's at least a 40% three-point shooter. This year, she's only hitting 36%. It happens, but she's experienced. She was on that Stanford title team in 2021, and we know what she can be as a player. If she's able to once again play up to her potential, this team can and should go far. I'm betting on her figuring it out, and the margin for error is relatively large with the two stars they have playing in the post. This region is probably the most balanced of the four. In addition to Texas and Stanford, you've got a Tennessee team led by Rickea Jackson, who will be the best all-around player in this year's WNBA draft. They've given South Carolina 3 tough games, so we know how good they can play, and Rickea could potentially carry them far. Speaking of teams that have played South Carolina tough, Utah is also in this region. Alyssa Pili is undersized, but an absolute dog. When she's rolling, you can't stop her from scoring. I don't think they have quite enough to go on a deep run, but watching Alyssa is always fun. Then there's Gonzaga, who blew Stanford out earlier in the year in a game where Brink missed the second half, but I don't know how much of a difference that would have made. They are an elite three-point shooting team, second in the nation at 40% as a team. Their offense is a thing of beauty. And then there's the 3 seed in this region, North Carolina State, a balanced, smart team that doesn't make a ton of mistakes. They spread the wealth with 5 players in double figures. I don't think they have quite enough offensive firepower to make it to the Final Four, but whoever beats them is going to have to earn it. I wouldn't be shocked if any of the teams I just mentioned came out of this region, but if I had to choose one, and I do, it's going to be Stanford. That will do it for this region's bracket preview. Feel free to respectfully agree or disagree in the comments below. Be sure to check out my other bracket previews as well and tap into my blog, the show notes, for more coverage. Information for that is in the show notes down below. Appreciate you watching, listening, rating, subscribing, reviewing, and sharing. And I will catch you later.